Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the Wednesday season finale. Great season finale. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Okay, so first and foremost, Wednesday, brings Tyler, to Xavier's little, his place where he does his art and stuff. And then, along with some of the nightshades, ends up capturing him. And then she wants to torture him to try and figure out the whole high thing. Because she's like, I know what you are. I kissed you. I saw what you are. And at the end of the day, it's like, hey, I got to find out, why did you kill Kim Blott and stuff like that? Because Wednesday's still under the impression Kim Blott's the one that was behind all this. Hides are so unpredictable, uncontrollable. It's there's a good chance you killed the person that tried to make you. Or not try to make, the person who, helped awaken you to what you are. So, Wednesday's trying to torture him, but the rest of the team isn't all about that. That's not what he signed up for. They wanted to get Weems involved, but the problem is, and that ends up being what Wednesday says later on, her and Weems don't have that type of relationship. They've always had kind of this distrustful relationship, and it is kind of sad. If Wednesday had probably trusted Weems, maybe things would have gone a lot further. But I think it's also Wednesday's, this whole season has been about her getting over her trust issues, because Weems hasn't always been supportive of her, but she hasn't always been supportive of Weems. It's a two-way street, it takes two to tango type of situation, and neither one of them Weems gave her the benefit of the doubt a lot more than she probably should have on multiple occasions, but when it's all said and done, doing what she did, they informed Galpin. Galpin shows up, and he is willing to let Wednesday go because of the whole Xavier thing. Because we find out, this actually plays into what I had mentioned in, I want to say maybe the last episode, that Wednesday sometimes gets so caught up in the big details that she doesn't pay as much attention to the small details. Because it's she was so focused on her mom and the Fancy Club picture or whatever, that it never crossed her mind to pay attention to anyone else in the picture, because one of the people in that picture was Tyler's mom. She was a Hyde. And it's I figured one of his parents I figured his mom had to be an outcast. And so it turns out that's why Sheriff Galpin has always been a little weird around Tyler, because he's always been worried whether or not Tyler had gained his mom's disposition. So, and it turns out Tyler had asked him about some of his therapy sessions, and we see him going through Kim Blott's stuff. And I guess after everything, probably noticing the signs and stuff like that. Who knows if he's been doing it the entire time, but no, probably not. It's not because, patient confidentiality stuff, but now that Kim Blott's dead, he was able to go through her files, so now he knows, it was only then that he found out. Well, because Wednesday's already shown him what it looks like, because when she actually confronts him earlier in the episode, she's like, wait, you already knew what was going on the moment I showed you the claw and everything. You knew this was a Hyde thing the moment I showed you the picture too. And he was probably hoping it was another Hyde, and maybe he was hoping maybe it's not my son, but he knew on some level, and he still kept that secret. He's known for a while now that the monster responsible, and it's once again, that's the problem too. Wednesday had every right to be distrustful, because the sheriff nor Weems told the entire truth. They kept a lot, because Weems knew ahead of time about Hyde's existences and stuff like that, but she didn't say anything. She knew that this had to be a Hyde, and Sheriff Galpin knew as well, but he didn't say anything because he didn't want to implicate his son. He didn't want to put his son in this complicated position. Hey, my son might be a Hyde. He doesn't want to believe his son's a murderer. Plus, it resurfaced a lot of issues when it came to his mom. Once again, he's I loved your mom, because that line specifically when he was talking to Tyler an episode or two ago, I loved your mom more than you could know, because despite knowing what she is, despite her being an outcast, he still loved her despite her, once again, her supernatural disposition. So, and Tyler, I figured as much, because I'd said, Tyler had to have, maybe in the beginning, he wasn't consciously aware, but eventually he must have gained some self-awareness. Once again, clawing your chest, like, yeah, I was like, not unless, Thornhill was, yeah, because once again, like, I figured as much, but it's like, right, maybe, I was thinking maybe Thornhill took control of him and made him do that. But he remembered, like, he didn't remember everything he did, but he did remember, like, waking up, like, naked and covered in blood, but eventually he started to remember everything. So I was like, right, so, huh. And now he is more self-aware, because he went full villain. He's like, oh, how's it feel? And it's like, cause I thought he was going to say, like, after everything, now you have no one, you've lost everything. But for him, it's like to lose. It's like, yeah, like, you lost, like, you kind of got it right at the end, but you lost, and you don't see what's coming. And he was kind of gloating a little bit. It was like, right, we've never seen that side of Tyler. I was worried, like, that's what I also thrown that out there earlier in the season, like, oh, please don't let Tyler end up being a bad guy. Like, what Lucas was doing with Enid, I kind of worried that that's what was happening with Wednesday and Tyler, like, pretty early on. But that thread I kind of let go of, like, pretty early on, too. But I was kind of worried about that, and it's like, kind of got a little bit of that at the end. I mean, truth be told is, I think the entirety, it makes you wonder, did anything Tyler feel about Wednesday be real, or was it all just for the purposes of getting close to her? I think maybe both could be true. But either way, Wednesday ends up getting expelled, and, it's like, right. Despite everything going on at Nevermore, it's no longer her issue, because it's like, yeah, you're no longer here. She tried to go to Xavier, but Xavier's like, I'm not going to help you. All you ever do is, like, hurt the people who are closest to you, who try to help you, try to be your friend. So he's like, you know what? I'm just going to, you've ruined my life. So you just leave this school. If you leave, that future will never happen. So you don't have to worry about it, So she is getting expelled, and obviously it's not what Bianca and the others wanted when they told Weems. They were just trying to stop her from doing something she couldn't take back. But at the end of the day, her and Enid said their goodbyes, and it's like, right, I love her and things of like, right, you better send me all these moisturizing tips and them fist bumping. And it's like, don't worry, Enid, like, obviously you've left a lasting impression. Like, anytime I hear, like, a disgusting pop song, I'll think of you. And it's like, thanks, I guess. It's like, yeah, that's a Wednesday compliment, So, but then it turns out Eugene wakes up, and he's the one that points her in the right direction. The direction being Thornhill, because it's like, right, the red shoes and everything. And in that moment, it all finally clicked into place for her, because she was under the impression, like, right, it was Ken Block using, like, hypnotherapy to get Tyler. But in actuality, it's like, no, this has all been, obviously, once again, everything she was attributing to Kim Blott, it was actually Thornhill. But instead, it's like, right, you used, like, she kind of went Poison Ivy. Which with the red hair and everything, it's like, she'd be an interesting Poison Ivy. If they ever, I don't know if she'd even be interested in it. Like, I don't know, this kind of got me thinking about it. She has a look, I never even think about, like, I didn't think about it till now. It was like, till, like, the whole, like, using kind of, like, some of the plant stuff to kind of, like, manipulate him. Because I thought, like, I attributed, like, her care and knowing how to use plants. I thought, like, maybe she kind of attributed, like, I attributed some of that, just like her taking care of plants and knowing their nature and how to, help them. I thought that's what it was. It didn't even cross my mind to think, like, no, certain plants will have, like, a hypnotherapy. I mean, it makes sense, because, like, that's a point of, like, some plants, they'll trap, like, they'll kind of bring you in, and then, like, like a Venus flytrap will, like, fool you and then clamp down and kill you and eat you, like, that whole thing, right? So, but I was sitting here thinking about it. It's like, I did it so recently with someone else. I was like, oh, so-and-so's playing his character so well. I was like, oh, they make it interesting. But, like, once again, her with the red hair and, like, obviously the plant thing, it didn't even correlate across my mind to think Poison Ivy. But it's like, I think Christina Ricci would make it a really interesting Poison Ivy if they ever decided to go down that, like, route in the movies. I don't know if she'd even have any interest in, I know some actors just have zero interest in superhero properties, so she might not have any. I mean, obviously she wouldn't be, like, the first live action Poison Ivy movie wise. She'd be the first one since Uma Thurman, if my memory's serving me correctly. So, but I think she'd make a really interesting Poison Ivy if they wanted, because especially her wearing glasses, she could definitely pull off, like, the Pamela Isley and then shifting into I don't know. I think she'd make it. I think she could really nail the poison ivy stuff. But maybe that's neither here nor there. That's just me thinking about it. But yeah, she manipulated Tyler. She's the one that told him the truth to what he was. And obviously she couldn't control him at first. But when she locked him up and everything like that, I don't know what. Once again, I don't know if that was his dad doing that whole thing with the cave, or it seems like that was just her way to kind of like break him into being subservient to her. And the moment Tyler was there with Wednesday, I was like, that's not actually Tyler, it's Weems. So we haven't used that shape-shifting ability of hers since she was pretending to be Rowan. So we haven't seen it since then. So I was like, right, that has to be her. Because I was like, yeah, Tyler's too subservient and too indebted to Thornhill to betray her. So I was like, it has to be her. And it is. Sadly, Thornhill ends up killing Weems. I was like, hoping, I was like, maybe, because the entire time I was like, oh, is this some like grand plan that like Wednesday had manipulated everything to kind of fall into place? But honestly, it'd be a little too convenient if it was like, yeah, she planned everything, like, oh, Weems expelling her, this has all been part of the plan. But it's like, no, when she went to see Eugene and the reveal happened about Thornhill, I was like, oh, she legitimately had no idea. I thought maybe Xavier was playing it up in the jail cell, that was all part of the plan. That had crossed my mind, but it's like, no, it's all happening because it's happening. Because once again, she legitimately was blindsided with her own confirmation bias is the word I could not think of. And now in retrospect, it's like, oh, that makes so much sense. I was like, why can I not get the word confirmation bias? That's the word I was struggling with. Once again, the bias of like, right, you only pay attention to what like agrees with whatever sentiment you have. So once again, Wednesday was only ever paying attention to the details that fit the like information, the bias that she already had, once again, the whole Kim Block stuff. But it's like, yeah, like I said, I think she saw the bigger picture a lot of times, and she was kind of figuring it out, but she kind of missed a lot of the finer details just because she wasn't willing to see everything from different perspectives. She did get blindsided. Because the biggest piece of the puzzle I didn't quite get was why Wednesday was necessary. Why was Thornhill getting so close to Wednesday when it's all said and done? And it turns out it's because she needed Wednesday, because obviously the body parts are what I thought it was. It's like, right, you're building Crackstone a new body from the body parts you stolen from some of the victims. And I was like, okay, so where does Wednesday play in this? Well, Goody not only killed him, but she also cursed his soul. So the only way to kind of unlock his soul is you need the real Book of Shadows, and it has to be one of Goody's descendants has to unlock it. And so her bloodline is needed. Also, I did get the confirmation, because I was like, right, the gates, that hatred and Crackstone, I was like, there had to be a direct correlation, and it was. So they are blood descent, they are blood related and stuff like that. I was like, okay. So, because she was like, yeah, our roots go back to Crackstone. I was like, of course, I even love that thing where Tyler was like, right, we're kind of on opposite ends now that she's chained up, and she's like, yes, but now I won't cry and whine like a child. I was like, yeah, digging that dagger in just pretty damn deep, so. But yeah, this has been Thornhill's plan about getting revenge. It's like, yeah, like, I mean, it is a sad thing. She's a byproduct of her family. Like, that family has been generations deep of hate. Like, forever. It's like, yes, and nevermore this land was taken that was supposed to be the Crackstone's land, and it was turned into this disgusting school for the outcasts and stuff like that. So it's kind of, I mean, I guess that speaks volumes about her acting, that she was able to be here for like over a year and pretend like she cares about the students, when in actuality, every single one of them made her sick. She wanted to kill every single one of them. She even tells Crackstone later on, it's like, oh, I had to do everything I could to hold myself back, like having to play this role of this nice teacher, So, but it's like, yeah, like her brother went about things his way, and she went about things her own way. She figured the only one who could get rid of that outcast once and for all would be their ancestor. So, but the reason why I also feel like, not saying like the show doesn't do this, but it is that thing of, yes, hate is born about because of a family. And it's like, yeah, she grew up in a family that was riddled with hate. You grow up believing this, like being surrounded by that hate, you're going to inherit that, So she was doomed from the beginning, being born into that family. Sometimes you can escape your family situations, and I guess it's kind of sad being like, I think a lot of people in this show couldn't. Like, we'll talk about it later, but Bianca, Xavier, even Tyler and Thornhill couldn't escape their family circumstances, and that's brought us to the situation we're at right now. So, um, other elements that are happening at the same time. Eugene calls up Enid, and then Voight's like, "Wait, why is Ajax in your room?" And it's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." Well, he doesn't know, no, but it's like it sucks that this is how you had to find out, buddy. But when it's all said and done, this is also where Enid finds out about the nightshades. I was like, "Oh, right, you don't know about that." I completely didn't even think about that once things were good between her and Ajax. It's like, right, we know he's part of this secret society. She's like, "You didn't tell me about the secret society." He's like, "Yeah, well, it's a secret." And then she's also like, "And there's a secret snap that I love the little detail, like when it's like nightshades forever, and everyone does a snap, including Thing." And it's like, wait, there's a secret snap to an Ajax. Someone's like, "Babe, what do you want me to do?" But I do love that when it came down to it, she's the one that ended up, because she was already kind of going through her transformation. And I was curious. I was like, okay, what kind of werewolf is she going to be? Like, I was wondering because we hadn't seen a werewolf transformation in this yet. So I was like, all right, is it going to be Teen Wolf? Whether it's the TV show or the movie, it's going to be kind of like that in between. Is it going to be like the Vampire Diaries universe where it's like, no, you're like a full blown wolf, like an actual like on all fours, like more like looking like an actual wolf? Or is it going to be kind of more traditional Wolfman type of big Hulk? Well, no, because I think Wolfman would be, I guess more traditional Wolfman would be like they did in, more recently in Werewolf by Night. That's kind of more that's more like the Teen Wolf like type of transformations. But, oh God. It's like Peter from season 1 of the TV show Teen Wolf, but like I said, the big hulking monster. It seems like the big hulking one is the way. I do love that, like, obviously because of her dyed hair, like her hair remained that same shade, and she came in clutch in this episode, like fighting Tyler when he transformed. But that also because that's what I was wondering too, like, so I thought it was like, she kept attributing, like, right, when she thought Xavier was the monster, when she thought he was the Hyde, it's like, oh, because on some level you like me. And I was like, is that why Tyler never did kill her? It's like, no, it's because, and I guess twofold of Rowan's vision his mom's vision did come true. Wednesday needed to be killed because, right, her blood was going to be the undoing of everything. It's not like, Rowan didn't see it the way it was meant. Like, once again, that's the problem of a seer situation. It's not so clear cut and dry. It's so ambiguous. Yes, her blood would have, like, it's the key to bringing Crackstone back to life. But also that's why Tyler protected her, because Thornhill needed her alive. That's why any situation came up. Wednesday was never in any danger because it was never going to actually kill her because she was needed. Specifically her blood was needed. I don't know if you could necessarily get that at the very beginning, but I'm sure also she wanted her to be around so that Crackstone could get his revenge against that bloodline. So either way, he did stab and kill tried to kill Wednesday, which I love. Goody's there to help her, but she's like, "Are your visual things like messed up or something? Like, are you not registering this? I'm dying." But Goody's like, "Right, I can help you. I'll that necklace will not only allow you to kind of like draw in spirits, but also like summon spirits, but also to draw them in, and I can heal you. But beyond this, you'll never see me again." Which immediately I was like, It seems like that's not the case, but immediately, like, am I the only one who immediately thought, like, is Goody going to use this as an opportunity? Is she actually going to possess Wednesday? And it's going to be like, oh, Wednesday's not going to be Wednesday going forward. Like, maybe going forward, it'd actually be, it would actually be Goody in control. That's what I was kind of wondering about, but it seems like that's not the case at all. But I was still like, I don't know. I was kind of suspicious about it, but it seems like that's not the case. So Goody was able to heal her wounds. She does have a pretty sick scar on her head now from when Thornhill cut it. So, because it does look like either it's scabbed up or it kind of got stitched up. Either way, so it's up to Wednesday to kind of see this through. Enid's fight with Tyler, Galpin showed up, and it's like, well, jumping ahead a little bit, it's like, well, of course, I was wondering, I was like, was he gonna have to put his son down? It's like, no. I mean, Enid, like, knocked him out unconscious, didn't kill him, but it's like, I figured as much. I was like, there's no way, the sheriff would actually kill his own son despite everything. It's like, and he felt bad because he's like, is that really you, son? And, yeah. So things kind of played out like that on that front. Wednesday confronts, she confronts Jackstone, Crackstone. I keep saying Jackstone. I'm basically kind of like combining his first Joseph and Crackstone. Luckily, Thing got Xavier out. He was able to kind of show up, and once again, we still never seen like, I guess like his seer abilities is all we're really getting out of that front, but like we've never seen like fully what he. Well, I was like, no, I'm so stupid. It's like, right, we have seen what he's fully capable of, and that's him summoning his drawings. I think we'll probably see maybe more of that in the future potentially, but I was curious, like, I figured someone was going to help her in the end. Didn't expect it to be Bianca, which I think is, yeah. It's like, oh, yeah, that's going to be, like, her frenemy going forward. It's like, yeah, we are friends, but we're nemesis and rivals, so. But I love that, yeah, at the end, it was Wednesday. I wondered, did it specifically, well, because I think Bianca stabbed him, but I don't know if it was in the heart. It might be specific, well, I think she did, because I think Wednesday stabbed, but it might have had to be Wednesday who had to, like, specifically her, because it's like her blood and the curse is connected to their bloodline, so it's like probably someone of her, the Adams bloodline, had to be the one to deal the final blow. So Crackstone's dead, and Thornhill shows up, but your boy Eugene coming through in the end, summoning the bees. It's like, yeah, he had to help his friends. The hive has to stick together. I doubt Thornhill is dead. I mean, she did tell Eugene to kind of look the other way. I guess it's like, right, your bees are over here. I don't want you to see. I might end up squishing some of your friends in the process. Maybe that's what that was. But yeah, I don't know if Thornhill is dead. That is the kind of irony behind it. Once again, Wednesday stomping out Wednesday. It's just, once again, purposeful casting in that regard. But still, we see what happens to Tyler at the end. He's locked up, but we don't know about Thornhill. I'm assuming she was. I think that leaves the opportunity that if anything in the future, you could always like bring her back, but it'll probably be like a one episode thing because the moment she's brought back and she's still alive, it's like no, you got to watch out because she's super going to get murdered because she knows too much. Maybe. I don't know, like, we're obviously not done with Tyler, because it's like, right, he's a hide and everything, so maybe he's still going to run free, so we're not completely done with that, but it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I was kind of surprised. I was like, wow, Weems is actually dead. I was thinking, like, maybe her as a shapeshifter, because she can shift stuff around, maybe that would have protected her from the whole thing, but it's like, no. It's sad that they ended up playing out like this. I was like, wow, that sucks. That does mean that eventually, at some point, Nevermore is going to have a new teacher. I did think it was pretty dope. I love it at the very end when Enid was kind of worried about Wednesday. She shows up and like she hugs Wednesday and Wednesday hugged her. But I was like, yes, I knew it was going to be impactful because they didn't have their hug goodbye when Wednesday was suspended because it's like, right, this is our thing. But it's like, no, Wednesday will admit in this moment it's like, right, this is like a fine, I'll cave in and hug type of situation. But because of everything going down, the whole school, the whole semester, the rest of the semester has been canceled. So everyone's going home, which does leave open some threads that were never fully obviously dealt with. The Bianca thing, her and her mom made the whole condition of Bianca will help out when the school year is over. It's like, well, the semester's over, and I don't know if that means in this in-between time that her and her mom are going to, so she's going to have to help her mom out with that scam thing, because that's still a thread they've set up that we, sprinkled in here and there. Then there's the whole thing with Xavier, like everything with his dad and everything. So I figured that could be a bigger plot point going forward, what that's all about. I mean, because some of those storylines might correlate with everything with Wednesday's overarching story too. They might be, maybe those are two other pieces to a larger puzzle. Like maybe there's some correlation or connection there. Because we also have no idea about this Gideon dude that's supposed to be the head of like the Morning Song stuff regardless. Speaking of the Bianca stuff, because of the Lucas thing, because that's also the thing too. And that's going to be the complicated thing for Jericho and Nevermore going forward, because regardless of it all, Walker and Weems were, I didn't even think about the W thing too, the connection there. But the fact is, they were the ones keeping this equilibrium going, like, yeah, it was kind of like a quid pro quo type of thing that they had going on. Both Jericho and Nevermore are going to have new people, and those new people will probably be very extremist. There'll probably be someone in Jericho who's risen to the level to be like, no, 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 we're all about. I mean, it was a normie that ended up killing him, Thornhill. I wonder will Gaspin have issues going forward, because it's like, right, your son is not only is he a monster, he's also a serial killer. So there's that. So I don't know if that would complicate things more for him, or will he just step away from his job considering everything. But I'm assuming like whoever takes over Jericho will be an extremist, being kind of like having not as extreme as Thornhill, but will not be as pliable and not as trying to keep the balance as Walker was. And I think the same thing on the opposite spectrum will be there for Weem's replacement. So we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. I'm curious how things play out for Enid, considering, like, right, she is now a werewolf, so it'll finally get her mom off her back a little bit, but she'll always have her dad's support, but I'm curious what that means for her family dynamic going forward. Xavier gave Wednesday a phone. It's like, hey, my number's already programmed in there. It's like, right, just shoot me a text or whatever. He's like, are you going to be back here next semester? Yes, no, maybe. Didn't really get an answer, so... But as Wednesday's leaving, she gets a text message, someone showing that they were following her. So the pictures that Thornhill had, the question was like, all right, so who was taking them? So, and obviously the pictures of her and Tyler and her and, I believe it was her and Xavier in one too. So it's like, right, and they're like, oh, I'm watching you, and it's an emoji of like, and it made it kind of like gif of like a knife going through her head. So it's like, okay. So she's like, oh, I have my own stalker. She's like, oh, this might turn out to be even more interesting. This break might even... So that's why I'm curious, like, if there is a season 2, will it pick up with the next semester, or will the entire season happen in between the end of this semester and between that? I'm curious, or will we kind of like fill in that gap a little bit by Wednesday being like, hey, like, this is what happened, no word from my stalker until she gets back to Nevermore, and then everything with Jericho and the changes. It'd be interesting, because you could also take advantage of this to be like, okay, let's spend some more time with the family, her home, with her brother, with mom and dad, whether Fester will, pop in here and there. Once again, the whole Cousin It situation, it could be Cousin It's opportunity to pop up in some shape or form. But yeah, believing that there was some bigger mastermind behind this. That's why I'm like, right, we saw Tyler at the end knowing that that's still an open option, and maybe Thornhill is too. I don't think she killed Thornhill, but maybe she did. Either way, I am also curious in the long run, will this kind of complicate relationships between, once again, like I said, if it's especially before the new leaders of each respective situation, Nevermore and Jericho, get elected or put in their respective positions, maybe that'll lead to more bad blood between Jericho and Nevermore. Like, it was there to some extent. We saw it like a little bit with Galpin. We saw it a little bit with like some kids, but it wasn't as hate-filled as like the Thornhill stuff. Like, there was some bigotry there, but it was not to the extremes like the Gate/Crackstone situation. So it'd be interesting to see how all that would kind of play out going forward. At the time of me recording this, it's the 27th, when these will be going up later today. They're already set to. I just need to finish uploading all the episodes. There's still no word on a season 2. Obviously, it only dropped a couple days ago. Unless like it does gangbusters numbers, you rarely will probably find out this early on whether they've made those decisions or not. I do hope we do get a season 2, and I'll go ahead and say it because it is Netflix. I hope it isn't just a season 2. I hope we get more. I hope this show gets to have like a full life, whether that's like a 4 or 5 season situation. I can get behind 4 or 5 seasons. I just don't want, once again, that's the biggest issue people have. It's like, right, the whole binge model, which they do just seem like they are at least changing it out with some of their shows, so that's kind of a whole thing. But also, it's just kind of like you get attached to a show just for Netflix to cancel because it just didn't get the numbers they wanted. So hopefully enough people are watching this show, because I would love to see a season 2 where things would kind of go going forward, finding out who's truly behind all of this, for what purpose, what is the grander play here. Is there someone like Thornhill at the heart of all of this, or is it even bigger because it's like, right, it's piece, obviously these are pieces to an even larger puzzle, a larger mystery. Once again, I feel like Bianca's family circumstances and Xavier's situation, because they were things that were teased this season that never really fully got delved into, but it feels like they are going to be essential parts. Maybe that's just going to be essential to Xavier and Bianca's story, and that they have relevance to Wednesdays, or maybe there is a direct, important connection in that regard. We'll ultimately have to wait and see where everything will ultimately end up taking us going forward in a potential season 2. Like I said, so fingers crossed, hoping for a season 2, and once again, more than just a season 2, but at least a season 2 for now. Hopefully we will get more in the future, but that's what I'm hoping for right now. So, but really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.